And now the most exciting session of the day, right? Yes. So I have a lot of videos, I have a lot of exciting stuff in the presentation. I'm lying, no. But the whole thing is, we'll tell you where the IMTC is, we'll tell you what IMTC did in 2014. But it's really your session, because what we want to get out of it is your feedback. Because IMTC really lives for, it exists for its members. And the idea is that we're fully member-driven, and it goes both ways. So essentially, IMTC does what the members need to have accomplished. At the same time, it's the members who have to do the work in IMTC. So without your feedback, we really cannot move forward, you know. So it's really critical element. So where are we today? We have 38 members worldwide. We have members from everywhere: North America, Asia, China, Europe, of course. So 38 members worldwide. We have excellent balance sheet. We're cash positive. So financials in a very good state. We have total number of seats on the board. So the organization is governed by the board of directors, which are, directors are elected once a year. Every year we have elections, which are announced to the whole membership. And any member company in a good standing can apply to be can submit a nomination for the board. So it's definitely open to all the members. So all the directors are elected for 2 years. Every 2 years they have to go through the re-election. We have 11 directors did not run for re-election this year. They're gonna continue, their term will expire next year. We held an election for 4 people whose term expired this year, and all 4 were re-elected, so now they'll serve from 2015 until 2017. So Matt Collier, myself, Alex, and Mutu from Intel. So congratulations to all the board members. So we have board, then we have officers. There are essentially by the bylaws, the whole organization is driven by the bylaws. That's not driven but governed by the bylaws, which are available on the website. We have to have 4 officers who are elected every year, and then board has a right to appoint officers for different specific tasks. So officers who were elected at the last board meeting, which was or the last 2 days, we had a board meeting. These are the officers of the organization. So we have myself, then Patrick Luty is our vice president from Cisco, Matt Collier is a treasurer from Lighthouse Communications, and Alex is a secretary from Video. And so all the officers are elected every year, but the appointed positions, they stay for as long as board has the need in that. So we have Rusbek Horhaman from Huawei. He's our VP of Industry Relations. He works with our liaison partners and handles all the relationship with the other forums and other organizations. And we have Wuqi Fang, who is our chair of the Technical Steering Committee. And he essentially presides over the rest of the technical work in the IMTC. This is the full list of board of directors, 15 directors. I'm not going to read everybody, but you can take a look. Again, all this information is available on the website. So this is the directors who will serve starting from now until the end of the 2015. 38 members. You can look for your logo. I hope I did not screw up with that. These are our members in a graphical format. So the work we do. IMTC is structured into essentially, there is a technical steering committee, which is pretty much one person, Wu Qifeng, right now. And we have working groups, which then subdivided into activity groups. So we have 4 working groups: Unified Communications, Carrier Technologies, Test and Certification, and Requirements and Education. And these are, and underneath all of these are individual activity groups, which, each activity group has a chair, or sometimes it can be 2 or 3 co-chairs. It depends on how group wants to do the work. There are essentially no limitations in how the groups would be managed, but effectively it's the chair of the group or co-chairs who really drive. They do all the heavy lifting. They volunteer their hours, and they often do take the lion's share of work, which is done in the group. So this is, again, I'm not going to read this. Hopefully you were aware with most of this. If you have any questions, you can ask now, or we can wait until the end of this presentation, and we can talk about our activity groups. Okay. One group I would point out, because I think this you would be the least aware of, I would guess. The IPR, which is Intellectual Property Rights Group under Requirements and Education, it is a historical archive of about 20 gigabytes of data, which include the scanned information from the different standardization meetings, primarily of JPEG and MPEG, of really going back to 20 plus years. And this is all, that collection of documents is available to all of the IMTC members, and it's so essentially it's been used in a number of cases in patent litigations and other cases. We have European Patent Office as a member of IMTC, so they would have an access to this information. So generally, we don't widely advertise this, but again, this is the member benefit. This is something which is available to all of IMTC members. Again, if you have any questions about any groups, you need to know more, ask. So what did we do in 2014? Well, all member meetings, this is what we're doing right now. So far, I think it's great content. We'll see. Matt will close the day. We'll provide his impressions. I personally think we have great presentations, and it's a very good event. So what did we do? We completed merger with Unified Communications Industry Forum, essentially in July of 2014. Since then, we integrated successfully all of the work items. So we were able to continue the work done in UCIF. So the work done in the scalable video coding, work done in the main, Unified Communications SDN. So all of this is continuing, and now it's all fully integrated into the IMTC work process. Then we conducted our traditional major interoperability testing event, which is SuperOp. Took place in May of 2014 in San Diego. We had 24 companies in attendance, 74 engineers, conducted tests, including all of these technologies, SIP, H203, TEEP, and so on and so on. And every SuperOp, we have one major event as part of the SuperOp, which historically had been always a culmination point. So historically, the SuperConnect, it is a very big conference call of all available video conferencing, audio, etc. devices, which come together in one big network. And you could really track the level of maturity of the industry by by the time. In the first SuperOps, we used to allocate pretty much whole day. We would start in the morning and finish SuperConnect in the afternoon. On the last day and in the 4 previous days, all the vendors would identify which devices would be capable to connect in the SuperConnect. So it was really, it took us time. So in the old days of 98, 99. And then we were gradually reducing this time. This year, even though it was, Sumit was not playing fair, for the past 3 years, Sumit Kumar from AT&T is really organizing this, and he did not play fair because he prearranged everything, but it took only 10 minutes to complete connection of more than 50 endpoints, 10 MCUs, and everything else. So it was very impressive. It was really very impressive. But so, which shows that video conferencing is really at quite a mature state. What else we did? So these next 2 items is a continuation of work done in UCIF. We launched SIP over IP version 6 testing and certification program, which is available to IMTC members. We have presentations. You will hear the presentations tomorrow. This is something which you might not be widely aware of that. We're going to do a lot of marketing around the availability of these programs, but it is essentially if you build an equipment which, let's say, requires US government certification for SIP over IP version 6 compliance, and this program would be an invaluable resource because it will allow you to save time, effort, money, and so on. Unified Communications SDN group finished quality of experience specification. It is available for download. Pascal mentioned that. The press release is going to go out over the next week or 2. And so this is definitely a big step in the work of that group. And we also, as you probably know, we have IMTC published a set of documents for the SIP video implementations, which we call SIP Video Profile Best Practices. So we released the latest version of SIP Video Profile, which contains some improvements for interoperability with 3GPP terminals, and it's an official IMTC document. It's available as if you go on the IMTC website. We have our so-called public documents. They're all numbered, and those documents are available for the whole industry. So this is we really public documents have a goal to help whole industry to move forward. So this is also what we did in 2014. What we're going to focus on in 2015 is we're going to continue what we are doing right now. So SuperOp 2015, I have a next slide with date and location. We'll be in, we're going back to Porto, Portugal, the same place we were when we were in 2013. We plan continuing the success of this event. We plan, so we essentially we plan to go back and we're gonna so we call this event a all-member meeting. We didn't designate it as a forum typically when we but anyone who remembers the old days of IMTC, we used to do forums as a really annual event, sometimes even twice a year when we started. And the forum is really, this is the conference. This is what we're doing right now with the intent to educate, to share the latest and greatest development in the standards, to share what the IMTC groups are doing. That's what forum was for. So we plan to have the forum. Preliminary, we plan on the November 2015. We did not decide on the exact location, but right now the 2 leading contenders for location are either Florida or Washington, D.C. So we'll work on that. So we're going to continue cooperation with the other consortiums. As you heard, Pascal mentioned ONF number of times. We just signed a liaison agreement between IMTC and ONF. We're working very closely with OVCC on implementing OVCC profile for for the communication between the different carriers, and we plan to enhance cooperation with MPEG. And but in general, IMTC has a standing liaison relationship with pretty much all the major standard defining organizations, ITU, 3GPP, IETF, W3C, and so on. So we work together with the whole industry. Of course, we're going to continue UCSDN. There is a lot of work to be done there. Maine will be also work which will be in one of the major focuses, and the scalable and simulcast video will continue defining profiles and the transport, etc. And so WebRTC is something which was started about a year and a half ago, and essentially I know that everybody started work on the WebRTC. Our take is really on connecting WebRTC implementations and making sure WebRTC implementations will work on par with what we now came to expect from the video conferencing in general. Don't get me wrong, yes, the simple call in WebRTC is possible, but the WebRTC terminal is not anywhere near in its capabilities to what the video conferencing system can do, as you know that. So the idea is to bridge the gap between WebRTC and the actual enterprise unified communications video telephony. So that's the focus of the group, and this is where we need really your participation. So IMTC SuperOp 2015, May 15th through 22nd in Puerto Palacio, Congress. It's a great location, we have excellent space there. We plan all the traditional testing as you can expect. We're going to extend video conferencing. We really hope that we will be able to extend to be able to test HEVC, essentially H.265. If transport specs will be ready, then we will be able to do that work. Voice and video over LTE, with LTE being publicly launched in a lot of locations, including finally in the United States. We really hope that we will be able to gain some momentum with that, and we're going to continue for packet switch streaming. MPEG-Dash will continue being focus, and we're considering offering other types of interoperability testing, something which we've done historically. We've done this. It was not necessarily SIP over IP version 6, but it was, let's say, H.263 over IP version 6, and all sorts of security impairment testing and firewall not traversal. So we are considering offering that again, but the important thing, we need your feedback for that. Because let's say if we gonna do an impairment testing, it means that we have to design network differently. We need to provide different connections for specifically to isolate all the regular testing from the impairment testing. You don't want to, in your regular video call, you don't want to lose packets all of a sudden. That's not going to be a good testing result. So, but we need your feedback, okay? And and that goes across everything which I said. So this is what I started with. We need your feedback for SuperOp and in general. So these are the simple questions, and we have time. So how about we will get, so can anyone speak and say, what can we do for you guys? So now I'm putting you on the spot before dinner. So?
You want to see 3 proposals before dinner, right?
Yes, 3 proposals before dinner, otherwise no dinner. HP said it. Well, come on. No? No feedback, no input? I just told you what IMTC does. I mean, this is not 100% of the precision. We do a lot of different things. All the activity groups are functioning, but really on a big picture, what do you think we can add Maybe there are new technologies we need to look at. Any suggestions? Ryan is smiling, so you have a suggestion, I'm sure.
I know there is some activity going on for this EBS project that is coming up for both teams. I believe that actually is going to be very important for the whole ecosystem.
Okay.
So there's going to be more discussion tomorrow about that. So there's actually presentations from Ericsson too. I think I mentioned that last year. Carriers have to be more engaged with IMTC. I know that AT&T is involved already, but we need more of them. I think when it comes to the carrier-based type of services with the IMS and RCS-related features, we need carriers in here. We need them to engage and work with the interop team. And I don't know if you had any feedback on that.
So with carriers, it's a little bit of the catch-22. So the problem is that carriers, they really have nothing to bring into the testing, so they can only observe the testing, and that's not enough for them to gain enough value. So it's a bit of a challenging situation.
I tend to agree with you. I think it's more of a chicken and egg situation,
Mm-hmm.
They need to initiate the RFQs to their infrastructure vendors, and then effectively that goes back to us, and then the OEM handset vendors gets involved. So it's that whole, every one of those entities have to be all aligned. I agree, and then that's where the IoT then comes into the picture. Yes.
Right. So when it comes to carriers, we discuss multiple scenarios, and for instance, Rusbek, who was unfortunately unable to attend the forum, but he was very keen on bringing in the carriers, and we discussed multiple possible scenarios. We can bring in carriers as really as observers, and to have a special day allocated for them when they can come in and see the testing in progress. They can see what is happening. So we'll look again at what we can do. But so for EVS, would it be ready? In terms of implementations, so we need implementations first. Then we need the codec, we need the signaling, we need the testing plan. Probably is not going to be that difficult. But
yeah, I agree. No, I think the standardization is progressing quite well. I think we'll probably get more update tomorrow. The SA has already approved it. The code is posted, so the floating point code, actually the fixed point code is already posted. And so the OEM, the handset UEs they can start their development. We are actively working in this. I think by the end of the year we will start seeing the prototypes available for interop testing. So maybe by that time we can revisit this again.
That definitely can be done.
Maybe a comment. I mean, it probably would be good to do some brainstorming in terms of what the carrier role could be, because I think there could actually be a role for carriers, which is at least at the level of providing the network to do actually over the network testing, right? And each carrier has their own network and their own infrastructure providers and their own maybe unique elements in the network, and in the end make a call from one network to another network, for example. You need the carriers for that. So I'm thinking aloud here. I think it would be good to do some brainstorming and try to figure out what the carrier involvement would be in this scenario, what the value would be to the carrier. We talked at the board meeting, how can we provide value and communicate value, right? So
one thing that's actually very important is that, I think the IMTC is mainly doing the lab interop testing. I think what you're pointing is more of what we call, a field interop testing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, after that, it's what they call the EMTs, the employee market trial. There's like multiple stages of this interop that has to be done. After the lab interop testing, which obviously is one of the SuperOp type of objectives, as you pointed out rightfully, is that then we should start working with our carriers at that time, because they're the one who allow you to provision these prototypes on their field, on their network. They have to be assigned a special IMEI to be able to activate these phones, outside the RF cage and be able to go into the field and try to do the testing. And you won't be surprised how many things goes wrong. The lab environment is very ideal in environments, and the moment you get into the field, there's so many other things that could come wrong.
At least as Ericsson, we will offer to host such testing on our infrastructure for voice over LTE supporting EVS. And I think bringing along the carriers as observers during the testing, they can also listen and they can see what's going on. We can then trigger interest, and potentially they could also help us gathering more OEMs and client vendors to do the testing. And they can see the value in IMTC in bringing the clients together to do the interop.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Just an information and invitation for everyone. I'm the organizer of the media processing activity group in IMTC and also board member. We are planning to run interop tests using EVS in the context of VoLTE. So you are invited to take part on this. We discussed it in the board meeting as well yesterday. So 2 layers of tests are planned, actually. One layer is when we exchange bit streams on the RTP, UDP domain, and the other one is when we get then to real-time tests over networks. So please consider your involvement, and I invite you as the coordinator of this activity group to take part in these tests. This correlates to Frederick's comment that we have support for network on this. So this is an activity for the first half year of 2015. Please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, Imre.
Thank you, Imre.
And the silence fell. All right, so we'll no.
We have time, I think.
Yeah, you should have time. I was talking to Russell an hour back that probably I'm the only one who have traveled half the globe for this meeting. So this is very important for us. We are a new member to this group. And so as an engineering services company, we see a lot of opportunity which arises in the SDN UC space. So, today I think a lot of you have spoken about it, and the specification primarily on the northbound API is going to drive a lot of interoperability needs between the applications and the controllers or the managers. If you look at the southbound, there is pretty much a lot of work which the networking OEMs are already focusing on. But from a UC point of view, if we can really accelerate the work that we're doing in terms of the test specifications, then I think this is what I think we as a company look forward to IMTC, that we can, really invest in creating the lab infrastructure, contributing into the test specifications for doing this work. And the way we operate is, for instance, we are already working with a lot of OEMs in the SDN space. So there are different learnings which are coming in terms of, for example, the IMTC is a horizontal, so there are a lot of member companies here. So we also are a horizontal company working with different OEMs and customers. So there is definitely a synergy that we see, and this is what I would wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you. The SDN will be in the scope of SuperOp, absolutely. I don't realistically see it be ready for testing for both devices and the networks, being ready for testing outside of everything which was presented today rotates or evolves around Microsoft Link. So that's, it still needs to be extended to generic UC applications. So 2015 for SDN doesn't sound like realistic, but we might, but if it's of interest to everybody, we might, as we've done in the past, we might conduct a workshop, which might be might be of interest to the people. But 2016, I think it would be quite realistic. But it's what is important is that everybody who are interested will be participating in the work of the activity group. And it goes across the whole spectrum. So UCSDN, you're interested in UCSDN, so I would assume you participate in any case, but that's the critical part. Again, guys, I'm going back to you because it's the members' involvement which makes these things possible. So if you think certain technology is important and essential, bring it into the activity group. If there is no activity group, bring it to the board. Okay, bring it to the board as part of. So you're going to get all the slides. This is all of the contact information you can. Contact, so for the various things, you can reach out to any of the activity group directly. There is all the contact information on the website. Membership inquiries go to John Ehrig, our executive director. Marketing, SuperOp planning, forum planning. Anyone wants to sign up to speak at the next forum, you can do it now. Send a mail to Natalie. You can follow IMTC on Twitter. You can join IMTC LinkedIn group. So this is your forum. IMTC is your organization, and it's your opportunity to get things done which are in your need. You know, the things which you need to have happen, you can drive them. You can drive them. You can make them possible. You can make them happen. And IMTC simply gives you a platform. That's what IMTC is. IMTC is a platform to help all the engineers to collaborate. As it was the Wi-Fi Alliance, the gentleman from the Wi-Fi Alliance was speaking about the vendors coming in and realizing that unless they are interoperable, nothing will happen. That's the thing. That's what IMTC does. We make the multimedia communications interoperable.
Sure. I think, the reason I brought this up is we're doing a lot of test automation work for the southbound, because that's pretty much standardized. A lot of vendors have gone for OpenFlow. The northbound is where I think we're very interested in. And so, for example, do we have some plans of synergy between what the NFV HC team is doing and what we're trying to do here for the northbound? So those kind of things, the discussions, so, and then we can take it forward.
So bring it on into the activity group. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, Matt.
Thank you.
You're on. He's our treasurer, so.
Okay, yeah, to echo Anatoly's words, bring forward the proposals that you think might work, and we'll take a look at all options.
Alex is not in the room, but
We gave it away. Good. Is it coming up?
What was the name of the deck again?
IMTC slides. So I'm going to do a wrap up. I took some notes. They weren't always good, but I took them as best as I can as a sales guy, business development guy. I don't know what you're talking about half the time. That was that one. So Anatoly kicked it off. Anatoly, thank you for all you do for the IMTC. You're excellent president. We really appreciate all the things that you do and the amount of time that you dedicate to doing them. So just a quick round of applause for Anatoly. Todd came in and talked about three things: diagnostics, automated QoS, and orchestration in the area of UC SDN and how to resolve some of those using those Rangan Nathan. Close? He talked about three things: open, best practices, and royalty free. He's from Google, so that's always a good thing when somebody says royalty free. The big things there were there are currently 2 billion smartphones, 1.7 billion desktops out there, and he's trying to attract 3 billion more. That's a huge opportunity, if you ask me. I'm not really sure. Alex talked about all the things that are going on in the SVAG. That's a mouthful. He reviewed all the developments of H.264 SVC, VP8, HEVC, SHVC, VP9, and scalable VP9, and the work that you guys are doing with, or Vidyo and Google are doing in that area specifically. Charles talked about the SIP parity group and some of the efforts that are going on within SIP parity. That's been a long and very active activity group within the IMTC, and one that's delivered, you know, a best practices document for almost every possible permutation of how that is now, you know, ensuring parity between what was the H3 or H323 standard and SIP, so as to deliver a similar experience. Bernard talked about the main AG work and the findings that they've come to over the course of the 6 months that he's been actively engaged there. He didn't do the demo of the freeware or WebRTC client, but he was going to. Or he talked about to spark an idea, what's next for video. The three things he talked about: multiple screens and devices, context awareness, and natural user interfaces. Very important, you know, aspects of experiences that we all want to see in next generation products. Stefan talked about three things: accessibility as it relates to the cloud, simplicity, and reliability in order to use the API inside of a cloud service to integrate it into other applications. Emmanuel spoke about the things that BlueJeans is doing from a cloud enterprise perspective, and the problems and how to resolve those problems of delivering that cloud service in the best possible fashion for a user experience. Jan talked about leveraged context, go beyond the technology and leverage the crowd to get his message across about multiple drivers working together in a common ecosystem to deliver a new user experience that's intuitive and delivered to whatever device you're currently using. Pascal talked about the things that are happening inside the UC SDN AG, and lots of things are going on. He also reviewed the work going on in the northbound, southbound API to support this whole transition. Joe talked about UC applications as it relates to SDN again, overviewed a couple of the use cases and issues solved by implementing an SDN solution. There we go. And then Kayer, did I say that right? I didn't. Talked about three things as it relates to link implementations, the three things: automated QoS, diagnostics, and again, orchestration. Sarosh talked about the same similar topics. The three things are again, automated QoS, diagnostics, and orchestration. And then Dr. Edler talked about the impacts of MDCT in audio coding and how they are being used today in many of the codecs that we implement. That's all I took. They weren't great notes. They were as good as I could do because I don't really understand what we do here. But I do understand dinner tonight. The reception's at 6:30. We are 10 minutes after the hour, so it's here's the address if you don't have it, the phone number. It's the number 6 on TripAdvisor out of 449 restaurants in Bellevue. You know, the 449 are like 50 Starbucks and then above. Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening. We'll see you in a little while.